The Asus MG279Q is the Freesync sibling to the Asus PG279Q that I looked at recently. In theory, that should make it a fantastic gaming monitor for AMD gamers, thanks to the inclusion of a high refresh rate IPS panel. Except it isn't quite as simple as that. You see, because G-Sync is inherently more expensive to implement than FreeSync, monitor manufacturers have sought to slightly disguise that fact by never making two models with otherwise identical specs. So here the MG279Q has essentially the same display capabilities as the PG279Q, but Asus has used a different stand design and lowered the build quality. The result is a monitor that's around £200 cheaper than its sibling, and it feels it. The design here is lackluster with a dull grey plastic used instead of black, and of course the lights that are on the PG279Q aren't included here either. The stand is still fully adjustable, but all the movements are just a bit stiffer or lower quality. For instance, the stand rotation on the MG279Q has the whole thing sit on a cheap spinning plastic disc, while the PG279Q has a proper rotating joint between the base and stand. Similarly, you miss out on the low profile bezels of the PG279Q, further reducing the desk appeal of this display. Ultimately, it means you're still getting largely the same features, but it just doesn't feel like a premium product in the way the PG279Q does. On the flip side, FreeSync doesn't limit connectivity options like G-Sync, so Asus hasn't held back in this regard. You get one DisplayPort, a mini DisplayPort and two HDMI, as well as a 2-port USB 3 hub. Some basic speakers are also included, and there's a headphone jack for private listening. Setting up the display requires fixing the base to the stand and the stand to the display, but thankfully both operations are toolless. The display can be attached to a standard VESA mount too. Another area Asus hasn't skimped on is the fantastic on-screen display and its joystick-based controls. It's just so effortless to move around the menus, and the joystick is easy to locate even though it's hidden away around the back. Sadly, where this monitor really falls down though is when it comes to image quality. Out of the box it's set to an awful racing colour mode that is overly bright, has too high contrast, is over-sharpened, has inaccurate colours, you name it. What's more, putting things right isn't an easy task. Opting for the often reliable sRGB colour mode drops contrast to a pathetic 666:1, while all the other options offer mediocre colour accuracy. The best seems to be the scenery mode, and even then I had to tweak the colour manually. After all that was done, the display is okay. Contrast is a decent 1195:1, gamma is pretty close to the ideal of 2.2, colour space coverage is good, and colour temperature is bang on. However, fine colour gradation is poor, with a delta E of 2.5. It's a shame, as you're otherwise getting the sort of great experience you'd expect. The IPS panel provides good viewing angles, instantly making this display an upgrade over most TN-based gaming monitors, and the FreeSync works well too. Except, it only works at between 35 and 90 Hz, even though this monitor can go all the way up to 144 Hz. 90 Hz is still a nice upgrade in smoothness and responsive feel compared to 60 Hz, but it's still some way off 144. The upshot is that this is a very capable monitor that packs in a load of great features. It's just that every single one of them is compromised in some way. Were it without direct competition, it would still be a reasonable choice, just because it's so much cheaper than the G-Sync alternatives. As it is though, the Acer XF270HU offers all the same positives, but has FreeSync that runs up to 144 Hz, much better image quality out of the box, and it's cheaper.